What do we need to leave behind in order to find spiritual freedom? A question that is posed in the book of Exodus today. What do we need to leave behind in the slavery of Egypt in order to be spiritually free, in order to listen and to follow our good and loving God? The book of Exodus certainly has a lot of spiritual examples for us to consider and to follow. And we hear how the Israelites, after some days out of Egypt, after they found physical freedom, they were struggling with spiritual freedom. The children of Israel said to Moses and Aaron, "Would that we had died at the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt, as we sat by our flesh pots and ate our fill of bread." I think that many of you know that I love cooking and all the things that go around cooking, hospitality, but doesn't flesh pots sound so appetizing to you? But they missed it. They missed it because they were provided, even in the midst of slavery, something to eat. And as they emerged from the slavery and passed through the waters of the Red Sea, they needed to leave something behind in order to find freedom. And it was indeed a difficult journey for them. And I must say, also for us. One of the spiritual programs that we're going to be embarking upon this fall, as we conclude this year of St. Joseph, is a spiritual program that is geared and really for men. And it's called Exodus90, based on the prayer and scriptures of the book of Exodus. And the program, which has three basic components, which is prayer, asceticism, and fraternity for men, is to help us to ask the question, what do we need to leave behind in order to find spiritual freedom, so that men can, in the image of St. Joseph, be the men they need to be, spiritual fathers, first and foremost, of their families, of their children, their spouses. Because we know that the world oftentimes encourages us to consider those flesh pots, what fills us up but never satisfies. And it is a beautiful reading that we are given today, that in their prayer, God provided for what they needed, but they needed to leave something behind. Would that we had died in the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt, as we sat by our flesh pots and ate our fill of bread. But you had to lead us into the desert to make the whole community die of famine. We know that part of our Christian journey as we follow Jesus is to die to self in order to be free, knowing and believing, trusting that God always, always is with us. In the second Eucharistic prayer that I oftentimes use for daily Mass in the summer, it talks about the dewfall, the image that comes from this book of Exodus. And when the dew fell and evaporated, there was indeed bread from heaven, which they were free to eat. Moses said to them, "This is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat, and we are blessed today to do the same."